Hey everyone, we're the AstroTwins. I'm Ophi.
And I'm Tali.
And this is our Finish the Decade Strong series. We're taking you to 2020 and beyond, counting down to the release on November 11th of our 2020 Horoscope Guide, our 7th annual Zodiac Planner to guide you through love, life, success, and everything that matters all year long.
Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is Jupiter, the planet of abundance, of travel, of global relations, of expansion, higher learning, and universal truths. Jupiter is finishing up a homecoming party in its native sign of Sagittarius that began on November 8th of 2018. So Jupiter spends a little bit over a year in each of the zodiac signs as it travels around the sun. It has these 12 and a half to 13-year cycles, okay, as it goes through the whole zodiac. So every 12 and a half to 13 years, it'll visit your sign. And we're lucky enough to host Jupiter in our native sun sign of Sagittarius. But for everyone out there, this has probably been a year of massive exploration, randomized expansion.
It's everything's supersized. Jupiter's in Sagittarius until December 2nd, which happens to be our birthday. So thanks for the gift, Jupiter.
And thanks for leaving us on our birthday. Exactly. Although I'm kind of...
We're all right. We'll get to that next.
I'm a little bit ready for it.
Yes, it's a lot. So when you get a planet in its home sign, you get like a double dose of it. And we've had 3 planets in their home signs in 2019. Jupiter in Sagittarius, Saturn in Capricorn, and Neptune in Pisces. So it's been quite the homecoming parade. And so if you felt everything at sort of double strength, from, the tests of Saturn to the gifts of Jupiter, to the sort of delusions of Neptune sometimes. Well, it's not you, it's the stars.
And Jupiter and Neptune actually all through 2019 they formed 3 squares, these right angles in the sky.
That's not easy.
January 10th, June 16th, and what was it, September 25th, I think it was? I'm forgetting that date.
21st.
21st, thanks. So
good thing you have a twin.
Exactly, but that was really, that was a time where, and we're still even in the impact and after effects of this sort of, should I, shouldn't I? How much is too much? What is the right path for me? Am I lost in the haze, or am I taking this leap? So it's definitely been a dynamic year. Now on December 2nd, our birthday, send gifts, just kidding. Make donations, plant a tree. We're going to see Jupiter move on to Capricorn, an Earth sign, the eldest Earth sign. It's going to be joining Saturn and Pluto there. And for the first time since 1285 BC, all 3 of those planets are going to be in Capricorn. They haven't been together. So this more earthy, stable, grounded energy is coming in. Now, Jupiter is in fall in Capricorn, meaning it's considered a weakened position. And we talk about that in our 2020 horoscope guide.
As well as at 1285 BC. Very interesting stuff in there about the historical cycles. If you're, you can really see them already starting.
I know, it's so
Jupiter's
fascinating.
Jupiter's a great planet to track, just by the way, because since it takes 12 years to come back to each sign, you can look back 12 years ago and go, oh, what was I doing then? Oh, interesting. That's kind of coming around now.
That was actually my first trip to Burning Man. And a year later, I met my husband, Corey. And a year after that, I got married there. So, and now we're talking about traveling and doing different things together. So we're kind of in this.
Continues.
It really does.
Next phase of it. So,
and Jupiter's a good 1-year planner planet too. So as we move closer to 2020, and if you order the book on pre-sale, which it drops 11/11, by the way, you will find out all about how to use Jupiter next year. It's with it in fall, like I was saying, it sort of mutes some of its power. To be honest, Jupiter's been a little cray this year and taken us all over the map. So we might be glad to see him in the sort of timeout chair so that we can actually take a chance to assess all the growth. This has been a huge year for learning. I like you have your metaphor, your pasta metaphor for it.
Yes, throwing the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. So that's what Jupiter and Sagittarius is very experimental. So now as we're, wrapping up the decade, one of the ways to finish the decade strong would be to sort of slow down a little bit and look at all the areas that you've grown. I mean, our business has grown a bunch. We've scaled into all these new areas. It's been overwhelming at times. We've experimented with teaching our own courses on entrepreneurship, our astrology of success classes. We've tried all these new
More
things.
on that in 2020.
Yes, we'll
Stay
be back
tuned.
with more of that.
That noodle is sticking.
That
Yep.
noodle definitely stuck. It was so fun. But then there were things that we did. We're like, oh, that definitely didn't work out. But Jupiter and Sagittarius are the gamblers, the risk takers. Without risk, there can be no reward or growth sometimes. But look, that doesn't mean we have to risk everything. So, me being the sort of, having had to learn about digital marketing and all these new things, Jupiter is also about higher education and learning. So I had to learn, we both had to learn a ton this year to keep Astro Style evolving into the next decade that's filled with all this new technology and ways of, staying connected with you guys. So one of the things we had to learn a lot about was called A/B testing. Some of you guys know about that, which is where, or heuristic learning. It's something to really look into if you want to Google that, HEURISTIC. And the idea is that we start with the assumption that we don't know how something is going to go until we try. And that you actually have to test different versions. This is not new, but you have to test different versions of things, even like a button that says click now versus get this or whatever, you don't know until you try. So if you're beating yourself up in any way for having experimented with something in your life that didn't go the way you thought it would, tell yourself, I was just A/B testing that. Because you were, actually.
Hey, baby, I'm not looking for something serious. I just want to A/B test you right now.
Let's take this to the bedroom. That's the B in A/B testing. No. Reel it in. That's Jupiter and Sag right there. So, look, if you want to test there, we're not stopping you. But as we move into Capricorn, you might want to take a few A, Bs, and Cs out of whatever realm you're doing.
Jupiter
that.
and Capricorn starting December 2nd won't really love the A/B
testing.
testing. It's going to want to produce. So
It's gonna wanna
between
see
now and the
results.
end of the year, or at least the beginning of December, throw a bunch of noodles at the wall. But of course, don't burn down the pasta factory in the process.
After you've tested, then you look at all the information you learned. You look at all the data, the results, and you go, okay, I've learned something, and now I'm going to narrow down my strategy and start to build in one direction or focus. This worked, this didn't. Let's sort the crops and start really kind of refining and working in the area that's going the way we want it to.
Yeah.
So Jupiter in Capricorn really is the natural next step for that.
I love that about the zodiac, how it just evolves.
Yeah.
Now, Jupiter is a planet of expansion, and in Sagittarius, there's potential for excess and growing too much. I mean, both Jupiter and Sagittarius favor travel, global relations, global connections. But I don't know who else took a trip abroad and couldn't swing a straw tote without knocking over an Instagram influencer posing in front of some monument and making it impossible to, actually enjoy your experience, So I think we've really gone a little overboard. I'm going to put in some Sag judgmentalism right now. Tone it down, Tali. But truly, a little bit of mystery would be nice. A little bit of modesty of Jupiter and Capricorn. Can any square inch of this globe go unphotographed? It's like the world is turning into a fire festival, and it's time to slow it down.
Of course, we will be posting this video on Instagram.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's about being aware, being more culturally sensitive too. If you're going into an area, learn the customs, learn the traditions, connect to the people who live there, learn the language, even if you hold up your Google Translator app, but try some words, I think a lot of people, on a positive note, have done that. So
there's a lot more. One thing that has happened, I think, and this is going to definitely carry into next year, is that people are really trying to leave less of an impact, a footprint. When I just took my daughter on a field trip and we had to carry in and carry out the lunches. It was at a state park or national
Oh,
park.
cool.
So, and it was learning geology and environmental things and what was in the Hudson River. So those kind of you know, curiosities and conscious efforts to, Jupiter is about travel, Capricorn is about responsibility. So that kind of sustainable, accountable travel that Tali's talking about is
It kind of makes me think about the
course.
one of the principles of Burning Man, which is leave no trace. And
Mm-hmm.
Burning Man was started by a 111 born Capricorn, Larry Harvey, who passed away last year in 2018. So, but he came up with these principles for conscious communities and intentional sharing. Whether or not you ever want to go to Burning Man, they're definitely worth reading over. And I love that Sibel, your daughter's school, is learning how to leave no trace. That's something to really maybe take in to this new Jupiter cycle. We are I'll just throw it in the trash, I'll recycle. Well, a lot of our recycling actually doesn't even make it to a recycling location. It gets dumped in the ocean. So I'm a big fan of compostables or bringing your plastic things with you if you have to use plastic, or your glass, or I know the metal straw brigades are strong, but little things like that, maybe they aren't going to change the entire world all at once, but being conscious of our impact, it's a mindset that will shift everything. So
this is the impact of her moving to Seattle. The last time Jupiter was in Sag.
That's true.
That's
oh my
all
God,
the stuff
I did.
she's learned. She makes me think about it. I'm the New York twin, and I'm like,
no plastic bags, no single-use plastics.
Right. It's like, okay. She's right about that.
But that, and that is what Jupiter and Sagittarius can help you really think about. When do we have enough? We live in a culture of exciting, new excess, but, Jupiter and Capricorn is going to help us to aim for things that maybe have greater lasting value, build a wardrobe, build a collection, make thoughtful, curated choices. Jupiter and Sagittarius.
Even if you like KonMari your stuff, like now I'll turn into the soapbox Sag. Think about where it's going, because, just because you got it out of your space doesn't mean you got it out of everybody else's. I always think, oh gosh, where's all that? Those poor donation centers are getting all that flammable fast.
Is there a Marie Kondo donation center somewhere? I don't know. There should be.
There definitely should be. So we were going to give a little sneak peek into the signs. We're going to tell you by element, fire, earth, air, and water, what Jupiter and Sag to Capricorn's transition could mean for you. Where should you be kind of looking to finish the decade strong with Jupiter and Sag, and then pivot next? So why don't we start with the fire signs? That's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So you've had Jupiter in a very public, kind of action-oriented part of your chart. It's been a lot of fun and adventure and very trying new things. And so you're going to make that pivot into sort of a slowed down, grounded, more thoughtful, mindful approach to everything next year. And really thinking, about money and building and creating some of your really big ideas that you've had this year and turning them into a career path or something profitable.
The earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, have actually been really out of your element with Jupiter and Sagittarius. Normally you're the planners, the grounded, stable ones. Well, you've had a year to really tune into your emotions. Go with your heart, your gut, instead of your head and, your rational side all the time. You've probably expanded in amazing ways in your relationships, creatively, and your connection to your own feelings. It's kind of weird for you, and it's even going to get maybe a little bit weirder in 2020 because Jupiter is going to be in an earth sign, which is going to, in a way it'll put you in your element, but you'll be a lot more public and front-facing and adventurous. So all these new feelings that you've had, and these new paths, your heart, and even some crazy emotions that you wish you didn't have to experience in public, but now you actually know what it's like to be a human being, who just loses control sometimes. It's real, right? Not that he didn't know that before, but, earth signs tend to want to be really composed and not ever let anyone see you sweat. Well, people saw you sweat in 2019 and they love you all the same. So keep going with that and create new things for your life where you actually get to be self-expressed, rebrand yourself, be more public. And
yeah, it's really important that you learn to embrace that realness, because you will be able to have more creative freedom and put yourself out there when you're not worried about
there's some
being perfect
fame.
and
There's some
under
fame
control.
and public and leadership and energy. People are going to be looking to you, earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Cap. So how about
the
air?
air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. You've had a very fun 2019 in a lot of ways. A lot of new connections. It's been very social. It's been about networking, communications, spreading ideas, meeting new people, a lot of exchanges. But you may be a little scattered from it, and in a good way. You may be, relationships and friendships are really the main theme of this year. It was about who you know, and it will be as you finish up the decade. But on December 2nd, when Jupiter goes into Capricorn, you're gonna move from head to heart, sort of from thinking and talking to feeling. You're almost on the opposite journey, in some ways, of the earth signs that we talked about. So, less is more. You may find that instead of going into huge groups, that you prefer the company of a couple people, or that some of those awesome, interesting, new kindred spirits that you met become great creative collaborators. So if you're musical or artistic, or have any kind of passion project that you want to work on, which a lot of air signs do, you can really, the muse will definitely be hanging out with you for almost all of 2020 and at the end of this year. So over the holidays, you might even want to take some of that time out to really dive into a creative project that your social calendar has been too full for you to attend to.
Yep, make art. Water signs, 2019 has kind of been a master class in adulting. You have had to learn about managing your money, managing your time, simplifying, finding the job that's right for you, composing yourself. You can be an emotional loose cannon sometimes as a water sign, and you've actually really had to rein it in and be much more rational and grounded and thoughtful about your choices. And now you're probably kind of digging it, like you actually realize that, not that water signs don't have goals, but, there was maybe a little bit of inertia too for some water signs where you were, had to be very dutiful, take care of something that was, and water signs are just loyal and nurturing. But you may have had to learn the boundaries of how much caretaking to do and put limits around that. Now, as you move into 2020, it's going to be a lot more social. Relationships are going to start to take precedence, both one-on-one and group friendships, romantic, and just people will become much more available for you, or maybe they already were, but you haven't been tapping into them as support. A lot of water signs may be feeling the burden of kind of even being a little bit of a martyr, or the weight of these big things you took on. Well, stop doing it alone. It's time to get out and mingle. And we talk all about this for every single Jupiter, every single zodiac sign. Another little moment to bring back the 2020 horoscope guide. This is our 7th year publishing this book. It has a breakdown for all 12 signs, and each chapter has an extended section on what Jupiter's move into Capricorn means for you, especially as it accompanies Saturn for most of the year and Pluto for all the year, before meeting up with Saturn in Aquarius for the great conjunction on December 21st, 2020. A huge thing that has not happened
about that, but it
in 20 years. So lots of huge stuff happening. We've got it all detailed here. So you can buy the book on our website, astrostyle.com, in our shop. If you're on Instagram, you can tap the link in the bio. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with more finish the decade strong. Updates for you and helping you plan it by the planets.
See you then.
Bye.